Hi, boys and girls. This is Mrs. Pearson, your elementary ELL teacher. Today, you're going to write 3 detailed sentences that support the main idea of the text. Where does food come from? This is from our first grade Journeys textbook, lesson 18. So for this lesson, you will need a piece of paper and a pencil, because at the end of our review, you're going to challenge yourself and you're going to do some hamburger writing. That means you're going to start out and I'm going to give you a topic sentence. Green means go, state your topic. Then you're going to slow down and you are going to write your first detail or fact 1 sentence. Then you're going to slow down again and write your second detail or fact 2 sentence. And then finally slow down again and write your third detail or fact 3 sentence. And then we're going to go back and remind the reader of what your paragraph's about, the conclusion that relates to the topic sentence. You're going to go back and restate what the paragraph's about, which is the topic. You're also going to answer this question. What did you learn about the text, the main idea, and important details? Using the green, yellow, green colors. I'm going to give you our topic sentence. I learned that the text is mostly about where food comes from. Then you're going to slow down and give your first detailed sentence, your second detailed sentence, and your third detailed sentence. And then I'll remind you of our conclusion. In conclusion, the author wants us to learn about where food comes from. So let's go over our learning target. I can say the main topic and write key details of the text. Where does food come from? Using complete sentences. Success criteria, that means how will you know you're successful at saying the main topic and writing key details of the text? Well, here are our steps to success. I will, number 1, say the author's purpose of the passage. It's as easy as pie. Pie stands for P, persuade, I, inform, or E, entertain. Number 2, I will. Say what the text is mostly about. That's your main topic. Number 3, I will. Say what the author wants us to learn. That's similar to the conclusion. And then number 4, say and write 3 important details that support the main idea. And that's where you're going to write your 3 detail sentences. And then finally, you're going to 5, check my writing using the writing checklist. So where does food come from is nonfiction. What is nonfiction? Nonfiction books teach us information and facts. Nonfiction is real. It has text features like photographs. Real topics might be holidays, animals, and sports. Why did the author write the text, Where Does Food Come From? Well, it's as easy as pie, or P-I-E. The author wrote the text to either persuade, that's P for persuade, to convince the reader of a certain point of view, or the author wrote the text to inform, that's I, inform, to teach the reader or give information to the reader, or E, entertain. And entertain means to hold the attention of the reader through enjoyment. So why did the author write, Where Does Food Come From? It was either to persuade, inform, or entertain the reader. Main idea. What is the main idea? The main idea is what a text is mostly about. You can look at the title and pictures. Sometimes the main idea is in the first and last sentence, and you can look for clue words repeated over and over. So let's review where does food come from using this retail sentence starter graphic organizer. The author wrote the text to either persuade, P stands for persuade, or inform, I stands for inform, give information, or entertain, E stands for entertain. So the author wrote the text to either persuade the reader that certain food is the best, or the author wrote the text to inform the reader, give information about where food comes from, or the author wrote the text to entertain the reader about a funny story about where food comes from. So, why do you think the author wrote the text? To persuade, inform, or entertain? Well, the author wrote the text to inform, give the reader more information. And it is mostly about the main idea. It is mostly about what is the text? Where does the food come from? Mostly about. It is mostly about where food comes from. Here are four details or facts that support the main idea. Here are four details or facts that support the main idea. So we're going to slow down. First, where do cocoa beans or where does hot chocolate come from? So, chocolate comes from, well, hot cocoa is a food that comes from cocoa beans. Cocoa beans, or they, grow on trees. Second, where do apples come from? You pick apples. Well, you pick apples are picked right off the tree. Then you can press them to make juice, like apple juice. Third, where do potatoes grow, or how do you make French fries? Third, French fries come from, and potatoes grow. Well, French fries come from potatoes, and potatoes grow under the ground. Fourth, so what is your favorite food and where does it come from? So you could say, my favorite food is, it comes from. Well, your favorite food comes from somewhere. What is it? And I'll share with you my favorite food is ice cream, and it comes from milk. And milk comes from cows. Unless you can't have cow milk, you could have soy milk or almond milk, and you could make ice cream out of different types of milk. So, in conclusion, the author wants us to learn about what does the author want us to learn about? The places where food comes from, because the text is mostly about where food comes from. All right, now it's the end of our review. It's time to challenge yourself. You need your pencil and paper. So make sure you get your materials, pencil and paper, because you're going to do some writing. You're going to answer this question. What did you learn about the text, the main idea and important details? And we're going to use our green and yellow colors. Green means go. I'm going to give you your topic sentence. I learned the text is mostly about where food comes from. You don't need to write this. I just want you to say the main idea. I learned the text is mostly about where food comes from. Then you're going to write your first detail or fact one, your second detail or fact two, and your third detail or fact three. And then we're going to remind the reader what this is all about, the main idea, the topic. In conclusion, the author wants us to learn about where food comes from. So, just a reminder, say each sentence out loud before you write it. Say each sentence out loud before you write it. And here's my writing checklist. So, as you write, make sure you use finger spaces between each of your words. Make sure you use punctuations like putting a period at the end of each of your three sentences when you're done writing your sentence, and a comma where a comma might be needed. And next, you use uppercase letters or capital letters at the beginning of a sentence. For example, the dog is big. You capitalize the T in the because that's the first letter in your sentence. So make sure you have uppercase or capital letters at the beginning of each of your three sentences. Also, when you come to a word you don't know how to spell, sound out unknown words. Write the sounds you hear. And then my favorite, reread each of my sentences to make sure they make sense and that you didn't leave a word or words out. So now it's your turn to answer the question, what did you learn about the text? So say the main idea with me. I learned that the text is mostly about where food comes from. I learned that the text is mostly about where food comes from. Now, this is your turn is to write your first detailed sentence. Look at that picture. First, cocoa beans grow. Where do cocoa beans grow? So you're going to push pause or stop. You're going to write your sentence starter. First, cocoa beans grow. Say the sentence and finish it. And after you've finished writing this sentence, then you can push play to move on to the next sentence. So first, cocoa beans grow. Okay, now we're going to move on to the second sentence. If you've written your first sentence, come along with me. If you haven't, push pause and finish your first detailed sentence. Answering the question, where do cocoa beans grow? Second, apples are. Where do you get apples? How do you get apples? So say second, apples are. So write your sentence stem, then say the rest of your sentence and write the rest of your sentence. So this is another good place to push stop. Second, apples are. And then finally, third, potatoes grow. Where do potatoes grow? So say your sentence, push pause, and then write your sentence. Third, potatoes grow. All right. In conclusion, the author wants us to learn about where food comes from. So I want you to restate your topic or your main idea. Just say it out loud. You don't need to write the sentence. In conclusion, the author wants us to learn about where food comes from. All right, now that you've written your three sentences, it's time to check your work using our writing checklist, my writing checklist. Look at your three sentences. Did you use finger spaces between each of your words? Did you use punctuation, like a period at the end of each sentence? Did you use uppercase letters or capital letters at the beginning of your sentence and for proper names? Did you sound out unknown words that you didn't know how to spell? Did you write the sounds you hear? And my favorite, go back and reread each of my sentences. Make sure you didn't leave out any words. All right, if you need to, check your work with the writing checklist, push pause, and when you're done, push play. All right, at the top of your paper, you're going to write your reflection. How well did you hit the learning target today? I can say the main topic and write key details of the text. Where does food come from? Using complete sentences. Would you give yourself a 4? I could teach this lesson. I easily wrote 3 detailed sentences. I also use my writing checklist for all of my sentences. If so, give yourself a 4 at the top of your paper. Or would you give yourself a 3? I understood this lesson completely. I wrote 2 to 3 detailed sentences. I also used my writing checklist for most of my sentences. If so, give yourself a 3 and write it at the top. Or would you give yourself a 2? I understood some of the lesson. I wrote 1 to 2 detailed sentences, and I used my writing checklist for some of my sentences. If so, give yourself a 2 at the top of your paper. Or would you give yourself a 1? I did not understand the lesson. I did not write any detailed sentences, and I did not use my writing checklist. So, how do you think you did today? 4, 3, 2, or 1? Write your reflection at the top, and then you can check your sentences with mine. So, I learned the text is mostly about where food comes from. First, cocoa beans grow on trees and are used to make chocolate. So, that's my first detailed sentence. First, cocoa beans grow on trees and are used to make chocolate. Second, apples are apples are picked off trees and are pressed to make juice. Second, apples are picked off trees and are pressed to make juice. Third, potatoes grow under the ground. French fries come from potatoes. So that third detail is third, potatoes grow under the ground. French fries come from potatoes. In conclusion, the author wants us to learn about where food comes from. All right, thank you for writing with me and reviewing the text, Where Does Food Come From? Have a great day.